For a small fee, join Solace private channel for better content and a more in-depth understanding. Solace is a master scholar of ancient text, a self-proclaimed scientist with his own studies called the Sperm is the Spirit Sciences. He's an author, an inventor, and a messenger for balance. All praises to the horizon, peace, wealth, and wisdom.
Peace, wealth, and wisdom. It's the wise servant here, Mr. Solace Lecture. All praises to the horizon. Now this evening I want to do this video called The Kaballah Magic and the Lesser Key of Solomon. Now I know many of you guys have the Lesser Key of Solomon as well as the Kaballah magic as spirit summoning craft, kind of like voodoo and the many other different forms of spirit summoning we have in today. And so you may say, why are you teaching us spirit summoning? What I want to do is give you guys a clear understanding of what that is. Therefore, you can know why you should not practice spirit summoning. And so it's a very deep thing. Even if it's called a religion, you should not indulge into spirit summoning. Many of you guys have this as something that's not real. And so I guess in a sense that's not bad. Let it not be real. But in reality, it is a real thing. And so I want to give you guys the accurate perspective and understanding of what these two things are. The Kaballah magic as well as the Lesser Key of Solomon, because they are one and the same. And so let me give you a quick understanding of the Kaballah. Now in today's times, you have many books written on the Kaballah, and there's so much to it. But the Kaballah was an ancient magic science that was given to the Hebrew male child. Either the firstborn or second, I don't remember which one. But it was a magic science, a craft, meaning summoning spirits. And it was taught to the firstborn Hebrew child, I believe. And so it was a sacred thing amongst the Hebrew people. This is why you read about it in the Bible. Meaning when you're reading the Bible, so you're reading about the Hebrew people and their practice of this craft. And so I forget what part of the Bible it was where, I believe it was David and Saul, where spirit summoning was kind of banned or illegal. It's a deep thing, but in any event, the Kaballah was that, an ancient magic science that was given to the firstborn Hebrew child, male of course. Now this wasn't something that was written down. As I said, it was a magic science, a craft that was taught to the firstborn. It wasn't a book or something written down. And so I want you guys to grasp. You do have many writings on the Kaballah, but you grasp? It's just writings on it. You know, someone's perspective on it or what they think it is. But the Kaballah was not a written thing. I believe a lot of Jewish people of today's times, they still pass this wisdom down to the firstborn, if I'm not mistaken. The Kaballah magic science. Now you have the book, The Lesser Key of Solomon, in today's times. And that book is giving you an understanding of spirit summoning, which is basically that old Kaballah Hebrew magic science. And so the Lesser Key of Solomon, it gives you an understanding of how it works and what you're doing. Many people believe that book is telling you spells and things. It's more or less telling you the understandings, how it came about, what it is you are actually doing. And so I want to do this video explaining spirit summoning to you guys, because I know many people in today's times, they don't even realize this is a real thing. Now, this book, The Lesser Key of Solomon, it's like a blueprint for spirit summoning. But many in today's times do not understand. Now, I want you guys to start here. You have your brain and spine. Now, your brain, this is the upper brain. Your spine, this is the lower extension of the brain, the lower brain. Meaning the spine is the lower brain. Now, of course, you have brain cells in the upper and in the spine. And so you can kind of reference Jacob's ladder when they spoke in the Bible of Jacob seeing the angels descending and ascending from heaven. It's speaking of that, meaning the brain is the upper brain, the spine is the lower brain. And so, of course, you have brain cells in both parts. Now, why that's important? Because all bodies are worlds. All worlds are bodies. And so when you're dealing with the spine, this is the chamber in all worlds, which are bodies, where the spirits of the dead go. And so I want you guys to grasp. You have many different levels of life, many different levels of bodies. Atom, cell, organism, solar, galaxy, universe. These all being bodies. And so bodies make for the worlds. Meaning you have a whole bunch of worlds, or bodies, on every level of life. And so we're organisms, we live on this level of life. And so you have many organisms, or many worlds on this level of life. Now, what makes for our world? The larger level of life, which would be a solar body. And so one solar body has billions and trillions of cells, or organisms. Just like you're an organism, and one organism body has billions and trillions of cells, which would be the smaller level of life beneath it. You get it? And so organisms are in solar systems are in galaxies. These all being bodies are worlds. Now, why this is important? Because that spinal chamber is where the spirits of the dead in a world go. Of course, you have regular cells in the body, and then you have those nervous system cells, or those spine cells. They're different. And so all worlds or bodies are the same. In all worlds or bodies, you have that chamber of God. This being that spinal chamber. What is God? The spirit or sperm that got the egg cell, or body, because this is the beginnings of a body. I said all bodies are worlds. And so the sperm cell or spirit that's in the body, these two things being one and the same. Sun, no different. Same thing on its level of life. And so the God in the world is whatever sperm cell or spirit gets the world, which is an egg cell. It will develop into a body. And so that's the true God of the world. And so as you can see, there would be many gods. You get it? Many bodies. Many spirits that got their bodies. And so you have many gods over a world. Meaning, I'm a god over my world. You are God over your world. You have many gods. But there's only one God in all. Meaning, the life is within the life. And so when a sperm cell gets an egg cell, or a spirit gets a body, a sun getting a world, God getting its world. When that happens, so you get an abundance of cells within that egg cell or body. You get an abundance of life, meaning you get trillions and billions of cells in that body. They have cells in them. You have molecules, atoms, all those many different dimensions as well as life within that body, just from that sperm cell getting the egg, or that God getting its world. And so from that you get many dimensions of life as well as many bodies. You get it? And so just look at the solar body as the sperm cell or the God that got its world. And so just like that, as I explained, you get the many different levels of life falling within that greater body. And so it's a simple thing to grasp in that way. Now, of course, when a sperm cell gets an egg cell, hopefully you guys fully grasp all bodies as worlds. And so this is why I'm going into the biology of a body, so you can grasp what's being explained in this video, which has to do with these teachings, the Kaballah magic science, as well as the lesser key of Solomon. If you are someone who practices any form of summoning spirits, I'm about to explain the accurate way it's done and what it is. And so kind of grasp. You have to understand all worlds are bodies to do a thing accurately, or to understand it accurately. Therefore, you know why you should not do it. Now, as I said, all worlds are bodies. God of the world is whatever spirit got that body. Of course, you're a spirit in your body. I'm a spirit in my body. So now I want you guys to grasp. When a sperm cell gets an egg, of course, a spirit getting a body, you get billions and trillions of cells to follow after that. And so all these cells in that body are using that initial spirit's energy. Meaning, you are energy or a spirit that got your egg cell. And so you got billions and trillions of cells within your body. Their spirit is just a micro perspective of yours, meaning their existence is using your spirit. You get it? In this larger body we all live in. So the same. All of our spirits is just a micro piece of the sun. The sun being that chamber, that spinal cord in the world. As I said, the spirits of the dead, they all return to that chamber. And so in your body, when the cells die, their spirits return to your spine. This is where your central nervous system cells are. And so the ones that are in the lower spine, I guess you can call them demons. The ones that return to the upper parts of the spine, I guess you can call them angels. You get it? And so this is how it works in every world, which is a body. And so in that beginning, when that spirit gets that egg cell, when that spirit gets that world, or that sperm gets that egg, so all the life to come in that world after that is a matter of that spirit, meaning the energy within that vessel is coming from that initial spirit. And so it will return there. That spirit being in the spinal column of the body, which is the world. And so as within, so without. We live in a world, so it's a body. You see the rising setting sun, so there's your spinal chamber, there's your central nervous system cells, rising and setting. Or your rising and descending angels, Jacob's ladder thing. And so it's pretty simple. Hopefully you guys grasp. This is what a world is. This is what bodies are. When you're dealing with summoning spirits, you're talking about what I just explained. Meaning in the body, all the spirits of the dead, they return to that spinal chamber. And so then you have the regular cells in the body that haven't died yet. And so just look at it like that. Them summoning them. Meaning the cells in your body that have not died yet, imagine them summoning the cells that have died already. And their spirits have now returned to that spinal chamber. You understand? And so as above, so below. And so we live in this level of life in a body, So it's the same. We are like those cells summoning cells that died already. Meaning we're organisms summoning spirits of organisms that died already, though. And so it's a deep thing I want you guys to grasp. Now, when you're dealing with the book, the Lesser Key of Solomon, the book is 5 parts. You have the Ars Notoria, the Ars Paulina, the Ars Amadel, the Ars Theurgia, and the Ars Goea. The book is 5 parts or 5 books. Those 5 books have to do with the 5 parts of the spine. Because as I said, all bodies are worlds. And when the spirits of the dead die, they go to the spinal part of the world. And so those 5 books that make up the Lesser Key of Solomon have to do with that. Meaning they have to do with the 5 parts of the spine. It's the same with the book of Psalms or the book of the dead. It is explaining the building up of that spine. It's 5 parts. Meaning the book of Psalms and the book of the dead have to do with that. When the world is developing, our body is developing, so the spine is developing. That central brain being raised up slowly and slowly as that spine is developed. From the diged or the coccyx up to the central brain. It's a process. And so the book of Psalms and the book of the dead, those hymns or those songs have to do with, spells, chants, spirits being added. I'm sorry. Like I said, the spirits of the dead return to the spine. So in the early world, they kind of sacrificed there to kind of get it going. Hurry up and build it up. And so, of course, your spine is just basically made of nervous system cells, which are spirits of the dead, or rising and descending angels. Now, the book, The Lesser Key of Solomon, has to do with that. That's why it's 5 parts. And so it's explaining the beginnings of this magic. Dealing with the beginnings of a world, which is a body, as I just explained. Now, I want you guys to grasp how it works, meaning spirit summoning, or what is being explained in the Lesser Key of Solomon, in the many books you have on summoning the dead, or summoning spirits, making them manifest, all these things. I want to explain to you guys how it works. Now, you have your brain, which is 4 lobes: frontal, parietal, temporal, and occipital. 4 lobes of your brain are your god of the 4 quarters. Now your cervical spine, this is that neck part, those 7 vertebrae. Your upper thoracic or thoracic, this being the 6 vertebrae of the chest area. Then you have your lower thoracic, the 6 vertebrae beneath that. That's 3 parts. And then you have your lumbar spine, those 5 parts in the abdomen section. Now, the reason I'm naming those 4 parts of the spine, meaning the cervical spine, the thoracic, and the lumbar, because those 4 parts of the spine are extensions of the 4 lobes. Meaning you have the 4 lobes. This is your god of the 4 quarters. Then, of course, you have your 4 parts of the spine: sacrum, lumbar, thoracic, and cervical. These being extensions of those 4 lobes. You understand? So when you're dealing with goetic practices, which is, the Lesser Key of Solomon science, you have the god of the 4 quarters. Sometimes you have the 8 beneath that, and then the 24, or the armadillo. And so that's what it's speaking of. You have the 4 lobes of the brain, and then you have the 4 parts of the spine, which is the extension of that brain. As I said, the spine is the brain as well. It's the lower brain. And so you have those 4 parts of the spine. Now, You have the 24 individual vertebrae, this being your lumbar spine and its 5 vertebrae, L1 through L5. You have your thoracic spine, upper and lower. Why? Because the thoracic spine is double the size of the lumbar and double the size of the cervical. And so in science, they don't break it in half that way, but it's supposed to be broken in half that way. And so you have the lumbar spine, those 5 individual vertebrae. I'm not counting the sacrum because those vertebrae are fused. You get it? And so you have 5 individual vertebrae in the lumbar spine. You have 12 individual vertebrae in a thoracic spine. You have 7 individual vertebrae in the cervical spine. This is 24 individual vertebrae. This is your armadillo. Now I want you guys to grasp. Each individual vertebrae has legions of nervous system cells, all spirits. You get it? And so you have your God of the 4 quarters, and you have your armadillo, or your 24. And so that's your 24 individual vertebrae of the spine and the legion of nervous system cells in that area. See, the central nervous system cells in the spine, they don't just go any way they want. They're all bound to their vertebrae. Meaning, you got your cervical vertebrae, C1 through C7. Let's say C1 vertebrae, it has legions of central nervous system cells there, or nervous system cells there. But they cannot go to thoracic spine. They're bound to that area. And so they kind of pass the message along. You get it? And so when you're dealing with those 24 individual vertebrae, those are your armadillo. And so this is what people are summoning. Meaning when you're dealing with the goetic practice, first you summon one of the 4 God of the 4 quarters. You summon one of them. Therefore, you can get, the legions beneath them. That being the spine, meaning the 24 vertebrae. As I said, the spine is an extension of the 4 lobes. The 4 parts of the spine is an extension of the 4 lobes. Therefore, each of the 24 individual vertebrae, you are calling one of these. And the legions of, spirits that's bound to that space. Now, I want you guys to grasp. The shape of the vertebrae, this is your symbol. Meaning when you're dealing with these practices, the spirits all have a symbol or a sigillum, a seal. This is a symbol. The shape of each individual vertebrae, this is the sigillum or the seal of the spirit. Literally. This is the accurate way it's done because all bodies are worlds. That's why I explained that first. Now you have to grasp. You're summoning the spirits of the dead. As I explained, all spirits of the dead return to the spinal chamber. And so that's why I'm explaining it this way, because this is the accurate way. It's a deep thing you have to grasp. Life is biological, not technological, not sci-fi. It's biological. And so try to grasp. The shape of the vertebrae, this is the sigillum or seal of the spirit. And so this is why the seal is always kind of used in summoning. Now you have the time of day. Each lobe is associated with a season, meaning all worlds of bodies. The 4 lobes of the brain, as I explained, temporal, parietal, temporal, and occipital, these all represent a season, which make a year. Meaning those 4 lobes represent your north, south, east, and west. Or your spring, summer, fall, and winter. They represent that in the world. Our body, because it's one and the same. You get it? Now, Beneath that, of course, you have the extension of those four lobes, which is the four parts of the spine. Your sacrum, lumbar, thoracic, and cervical. Now the 24 individual vertebrae, those being of the lumbar spine, the thoracic spine, and the cervical spine, those are your hours in a day. You get it? And so that's your 4 times of day, meaning lumbar spine, lower thoracic, upper thoracic, and cervical spine. These are your 4 times of day. Like I said, they're extensions, are lower keys of that upper 4 lobes off God of the 4 quarters. You get it? And so those 24 individual vertebrae represent the times of day. This is why when people summon spirits, they do it at a specific time of day and time of year. Meaning all the deities that summon, you have to summon them at a specific time of day or time of year. Better than or and, meaning you have to summon them at a specific time of day and time of year. And so it's a deep thing I want you guys to grasp. The time of day has to do with those 24 individual vertebrae. The time of year has to do with those 4 lobes. And so in Goetic practices, the God of the 4 quarters is like a Mayman, Zimmerman, Gap, and Baal. In different practices, it's different names, but you always have the God of the 4 quarters. You get it? And so they all have their name. When you're dealing with the lower spine, you have those 24 individual vertebrae, the armadillo. And so in all the practices, they have their name as well. Then, of course, in each individual vertebrae, you have the legion of nervous system cells in that area, or legion of dead spirits in that area. And so you have to grasp, they have their name. And so this is what's literally being summoned. As within, so without. Meaning it's a blending thing. It's done within and without. Meaning you can literally summon spirits before people so they can see. Or you can just summon it within self. And it kind of invoke you. You get it? And so I want you guys to grasp that's your time of day and your time of year when you're dealing with this practice. If you were ever wondering, why do the spirits have to be summoned at a specific time of day or a specific time of year? Because of that. If you ever wondered, why do they have a seal or a sigillum? Because of what I just explained with the shape of the vertebrae. Now, when you're dealing with the summoning of these spirits, of course, many of you guys may know that they all have a specific metal associated with the entity or the spirit. The reason for that is because each part of the spine resonates its metals. Meaning, the cervical spine, your C1 through C7 vertebrae, this is your different states of coppers. You grasp? The thoracic spine beneath that, T1 through T12 vertebrae, this is your different states of tins resonating in the body. Beneath that is your lumbar spine, your L1 through L5 vertebrae. This is your leads, your different states of leads, that metal. Beneath the lumbar spine, you have your sacrum, S1 through S5 fused vertebrae. This is your silvers. Beneath that sacrum, of course, you have your coccyx bone, or in ancient Egypt times, they called it the djed. And so that's your quicksilver, or your mercury parts of the spine. Of course, the central brain, this is where the gold is resonating at. The central brain being a part of the spine, it's right on top of it. This is why when babies are first born, they drink milk only, because breast milk has traces of gold in it. This is important for that central brain developing. This is where the gold is resonating at. But of course, it has to be developed. And so, when a baby is being fed breast milk, truly it's being, breast milk is medicinal. Best way I can put it. And so all the spirits, when you're dealing with spirit summoning practices, they all have a metal associated with them. If you're familiar with goetic practices, each of their seal or their symbol is a metal. There's a metal associated with it. The reason for that, the 4 parts of the spine and the metals associated with them. Meaning your spine is literally those metals. This is why when we die, they take the brain and the spine. You can look at the bone as rock. And so within your spine, which is bone, meaning the vertebrae of the spine, this is bone. But within the bone, which is like rock, you have your traces and veins of gold, copper, tins, lead, silvers. You get it? All within that bony metallic spine. That's within all of our bodies. This is your scepter, if you're familiar with the royal family. This is what the scepter is. This is why it has all those jewels. It's a representation of this spine within us all. And so it's a deep thing. This is why you have the metal associated with the spirits. Now, many of you guys you all should be familiar with sacrifice when dealing with spirit summoning, meaning shedding the blood of whatever's being sacrificed. The reason for that is because in a world, our body, the blood cells, they send the information from the spine to the rest of the body, meaning the other cells in the body. And so as I said, that chamber or that spinal column, this is your nervous system cells. They don't interact with the other cells in the body. Just like we see the sun rising and setting, your nervous system cells in the world, our body, they don't interact with us. But the blood cells, the ones associated with the iron in the blood, these are the cells, they kind of come from the spine. Key word, iron. The red blood cells, they have the iron all in them. They kind of coming from the spine are bringing the message from the spine out to the rest of the body. These being blood cells. And so, as within, so without. And so the blood is shed, you get it? To kind of call in the intermediary, which we would call in the inner body blood cells. On the outer body, I guess y'all call it like messengers, messenger spirits. I don't know. Different texts call it different things, but that's what it is. Meaning, you see the rising, setting sun. And so the sun has to do with times of the day, right? And so I just explained how the spine, the 24 vertebrae, have to do with 24 hours in the day. I said each vertebrae has legion of spirits or nervous system cells in that area. And so they would sacrifice to call the spirit out of the spine. Because the blood is the intermediary, meaning the blood cells, they kind of bring the information from the spine to the rest of the cells in the body. You get it? And so literally, you kind of sacrifice a life, shedding the blood on the seal or symbol. You know, with the time of day and all those things I just explained. And you can literally kind of summon the entity out of the spine of the world that we're in. The thing is, y'all don't understand the sun in today times. Meaning in ancient Egypt times, they understood the sun. They understood, man, that's the spirits of the dead rising and descending in their area of the spine. And so we can still summon them back out if you know the magic. You get it? And so this was a real ancient practice. It's still studied in today times, but like I said, people don't grasp the science of it. And so it's not done accurately in today times. This is why you guys never see any results. Meaning a bunch of people will tell you, I can summon spirits, I can do voodoo, I can do that. But Nothing happened. They truly just kind of like invoke the inner. Like I said, it's an inner world, outer world thing, but with most people in today's times, being as though they don't truly know what they're doing, they're just kind of invoking spirits from the inner, meaning you can invoke these entities right out of your own chamber, your own spine, or you can do it physically on this outer world, as I just explained, sacrificing all the other parts of the ritual. People in today's times, and them not knowing the science, they just pretty much invoking entities in their lower spine, meaning your spine is your levels of conscious. And so you have your 4 parts of your spine. Within that spine, like I said, you got the spirits of the dead. The spirits of the dead, they're nothing more than parts of that God body, meaning sperm cell gets egg cell. Egg cell develops into body. Now you have that sperm cell, or that sun, that spirit in that spinal chamber of that egg cell, or that body, which is the world. And so now that sun, of course, when it first got that egg cell, you got a whole bunch of cells filling up that egg cell, or that world. All of their spirits belong to that initial spirit that got that egg cell. And so when they die, they return back to their place of that God body. You get it? Meaning the 4 parts of your spine, it's just the 4 parts of yourself, you can say. Now, don't get lost on the word 4. The different parts of your spine to different parts of self. Meaning you the spirit in that spinal chamber. All the cells in the body, they like your little sons, your little spirits. Meaning when they die, their little micro spirits will return back to the greater one, where it initially came from. Because when the sperm cell gets the egg, so you get 1 cell, 2, then a bunch. But their spirits is coming from that initial spirit, as I said. And so look at the 4 parts of the spine. As I said, you can look at it as many parts as you want. But those are the many parts of that God body. The different levels of conscious of you as the person in it. And so kind of look at it in that way. And so you can say those are the parts of that God body. All the life in the body, so it will return back to its place. Of course, the upper spine, the cervical part of it, the copper parts. This is kind of, you can say your good thought or good brain cells, which are just a part of this complete God body, so to say. And so it's a deep thing I want you guys to grasp. When we all die, same thing. Wherever you resonate at in your level of conscious, so you return to your place in that chamber, so to say, or that spine in the body or world you're in. And so why this practice is wrong is because you are pulling from the lower conscious in the body or world. You get it? Meaning you got the upper brain, the 4 lobes, the central brain, the higher self. And then you got the spine, which is the lower extension of the brain, or the lower brain, the lower keys. To summon the spirits is to summon those lower keys, or that lower conscious. You're supposed to be accessing the central of self. The only way to access that is through purification of self, not defiling and sacrificing and summoning lesser entities, whether within or without. And so when you do that, you kind of put yourself or lock yourself into whatever area of conscious the entity you summoning is. And you don't have to question if it's a lower conscious entity, because they're all coming from the spine, none from the brain. You never summon the gods of the 4 quarters. You never access them, but you get their little representatives or their extensions, which would be that 24 or the Amadel. And so it's a deep thing I want you guys to grasp. It shouldn't be practiced for that purpose. When you pass, so you will become a spirit in the chamber, of course, in your area of that rising and setting sun or spine. And so, summoning spirits, voodoo, all these practices, so they're so wrong for that reason. They kind of block you guys from accessing that higher self-conscious. This is why you guys all follow. You get it? You say, I'm a part of this or I'm a part of that. Meaning y'all don't believe in God. Y'all believe in whoever told you to believe in God. But the mind is not working in that way. Because, you get it? Dealing with the lesser conscious. Man conscious. Meaning all the spirits that summon all the conscious of the world. So it's spinal chamber conscious. Lower conscious. Lower brain. When you're dealing with the summoning, you're talking about spinal deities. Lower conscious. All in is the spirits of the dead. Man conscious. You get it? And so you're supposed to be accessing the higher self. You're the God of your own world. And so you have to access, meaning raise your conscious to that central brain area of your world. Meaning you're still a spirit in your body. That spirit being just many levels of conscious. You have to access or awaken your different levels, or get lost into the worldly things. And so, as I said, y'all don't believe in God. Y'all believe in whoever told y'all to believe in God. Y'all don't have a pact or a relationship with God. Y'all have a pact or a relationship with whatever religion you're in, which is just a group of people. And so you have a pact with them, whatever church you're in. This is why churches don't usually intermingle. You don't see the people at the mosque going, holding fellowship with the people at, Ebenezer Baptist. You don't see the people at Ebenezer Baptist going, down to Joel Austin. You get it? Y'all don't have pacts and relationships with God. Y'all have pacts and relationships with men. Y'all believe in men who told y'all to believe in God. Whoever told you to, well, that's why you believe in it. Nothing else came to you. But see, this world we live in, all worlds are bodies. And so there's a spirit that got this body. And so y'all see parts of it rising and setting through the day. That being your lumbar spine, thoracic spine, and cervical. Those 24 vertebrae are your 24 hours of the day. And so, like I said, y'all see parts of it, but never the whole. And so, kind of grasp this a very deep thing. Those practices or that craft is a real thing. You can really afflict yourself, which most do. You can only afflict yourself, or others who are indulgent. And so, like I said, you got to purify the conscious or cleanse the self to access the higher self, that central brain conscious. As of now, most are lost in the lower entities, meaning this is happening with you on your inner world regardless. Y'all pulling y'all thoughts, not from the brain, but from the from the nervous system cells in the spine, these being brain cells as well. Y'all pull y'all thoughts from whatever level of the spine y'all do. Never pulling from there. And so I want you guys to grasp. It reflects on the outer world. Meaning, y'all don't go on y'all own conscious and what's morally right, what morally makes sense, what's logical. Y'all go on what's familiar in the world. What's popular in the world. Y'all go with what y'all like in the world, meaning the wisdom and the knowledge y'all push out, everybody, whatever religion you in, It was given to you. You never truly became self-aware and kind of looked around and just see your own knowledge and say, man, I see what's going on here. That don't happen. You always see through the religion, worldly things. You get it? Man-made things that was told to you and forced upon the brain, but never accessing that higher. And so, like I said, it reflects on the inner, or this is what happens on the inner. Y'all pull from, lower levels of conscious, the spinal brain. Y'all pull from the nervous system cells or the brain cells there. Never ever raising it, to the higher self or that central brain conscious. Meaning sperm cell gets an egg cell. That body develops. Before that body dies or that spirit in that body dies, so that's the goal. Raise your level of conscious to the higher self and live that here, being all-knowing. But you have to become self-aware and begin to pay attention and stop being lost into the worldly things. You can't do that until you separate yourself from that lower conscious. Meaning y'all pull in lower thought on the inner self from the lower brain, the spine, the lesser key. Because the spine is like a guitar, any instrument. It has its strings, its frets, or, its vertebrae disc, this being your frets, the spinal cords. This is like your strings. And then, of course, you have your vertebrae. And so, the whole of the spine looks like a guitar. The sacrum. And then the spine. It looks like a guitar, any kind of horn you can think of. So, you have to kind of grasp. Y'all pull from the lower keys. Y'all push out and speak negative word and think negative thought. But it's coming from the lower brain. It reflects on the outer. Because all y'all know is what y'all was told and influenced upon y'all. You get it? You got man conscious. Never accessing that, higher self, as I said. And so that's what I'm here for. To help you guys do that. In any event, it's the wise servant.